Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are really happy to have you with us to discuss one of our favorite subjects, which is can IAM be done without identity analytics? We are regularly asked this question, so it was worth a webinar, I think, to dig into this subject. So I'm Nicolas Drouot, in charge of the marketing for Brainwave GRC. And today I'm going to present this session with Emmanuel Sol. Hi, Emmanuel.
Hi, Nicolas. Hi, everyone.
You have a chat box available in your interface, so you feel free to ask any question, and we'll try to answer it at the end of the session. To begin, to start, a few words about Brainwave GRC. So we are identity analytics experts since 2010. Actually, we just released an identity analytics solution, a ready-made, ready-to-use solution available in the cloud. We have customers around the globe, very nice references, customer references you can see in this slide, and they praised our solution. You can read the reviews on Gartner Peer Insights. And so now let's jump into the subject. Emmanuel, with this statement, 50% of IGA deployment are in distress. Actually, Gartner made this statement almost 2 years ago, almost day to day. But it's still actual, so I think it was interesting to add it in this during this webinar. This deployment failed because either the project is too costly, or they failed to complete because it's too complex and too time-consuming, and sometimes they just deploy it with minimum functionalities. So they don't achieve the target, the initial target. A few weeks ago, another statement from Gartner said that identity analytics should be at the center of every IGA initiative. Actually, this could be the end of the webinar. It could be the conclusion, because we fully agree with this conclusion. But I think it's worth dig the subject and try to understand why identity analytics is so important when you deploy an IAM tool. So let's talk about IAM. The purpose of identity and access management is, of course, management. Could you elaborate a bit on this part, Emmanuel?
Yes, Nicolas. So as Nicolas mentioned, yes, identity and access management is really management. So the goal of this solution and those solutions on the market, and this is not only solutions, we can say that at the minimum it's a process. So the goal is to enable the rights individual, the rights to individuals to access the right resource at the right time for the right reasons. And this kind of process is a central process in the company. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we have seen a lot of cyber attack, and those cyber attacks are using the access to reach the goal. So this identity and analytics, identity and access management platform is definitely central in the company to have an healthy management of the access to the users. And it relies on the two pillars, which are the authentication and the management of the authorizations for those people. So definitely those solutions are really operation oriented. But you may know that those kind of projects are not standard IT projects in the company, because they are cross-functional. They are involving business teams. They are involving IT people. everybody should be gathered and working together around this kind of project. So it includes a lot at stake, and include a lot of risk as well. The risk for the budgets, for the timelines, for the milestones you have. This kind of projects can as well be very extensive and can make some years to be deployed in your organizations. So you have to be very, very careful about this kind of project. And the goal at the end is to involve people using the tool, but using the tool by the business. It's a big challenge, and you have to make sure that the key to the success for that is a flawless project management. Yes, and this is something for every kind of project, but especially for identity and access management systems, this is the data quality, which is the key of that. Because without the data quality, people cannot rely on your tool. People cannot follow the process you are asking to them. So we need to be very careful about data quality. And this is something, if we go back to the basic, this is something that Nicolas can elaborate on.
Yeah, of course, it's like you just mentioned, data quality is the base. How can you make a good decision if it's based on poor data quality? So let's try to define what is good quality data. Good quality data has to be accurate, of course. It has to reflect reality. If the data doesn't reflect reality, of course, your decision is not going to be a good decision. It has to be complete, which means you have to ensure that you have all the relevant information to make a good decision. So for example, when you are dealing with user access, you need to ensure you know the identity, which identity has access to which resource, which system, which application. But you need to know as well, you need to have this information, this identity, what type of contract does this employee have? In which department does he work? What are his responsibilities? So you need to have all this HR information to ensure taking the right decision. So complete information is crucial to ensure good decision related to user access. It has to be unique. It has to, you need to ensure you don't have duplicated information. You need to have as well valid data. You need to ensure that your data is up to date. You need to know when it has been last refreshed. Was it 3 years ago? Was it a couple of days ago? If it was 3 years ago, probably the decision you are going to make based on this data is going to be compromised because the data is going to be outdated. So it's a very important parameter. Availability, you need to ensure. You need to be able to access to this data to be able to analyze it. And the last one is consistency. So you need to ensure the data is consistent across all systems. So if you have an employee status that is terminated in the HR system, you can't have on SAP, for example, this the same employee having some accounts that are still active. So you need to have a consistent data across any kind of system within your company. So if you want to make a good decision related to the access that are granted to your employees, you need to ensure you have all these parameters that are fulfilled. One missing, your whole data could be the data could be compromised, and the decision you'll make based on this data is going to be compromised as well. Then,
and if we are talking yes about the data quality in the IAM, we can say it's limited because the first limitation of the IAM is the scope. The IAM system are not always connected to all the systems, and they are not synchronized with other systems. There are some connectors with the most critical and the most central system, like your Active Directory, some of the ERPs, and etc. But not all your applications. So when we are thinking about bank, for instance, you have more than 200 applications. Is the IAM system connected to them to know exactly what people have access in? That's not the reality. So we are limited with IAM, and because of that, we are not able to take a good decision on the data. What's about the different technical accounts or the orphan accounts? Are you dealing with that across the IAM system? Are you speaking about segregation of duties, but advanced segregation of duties like the auditors would like to see? Are you able to get enough visibility on the risk you have on your access across all those different categories? And if we are looking only data ingested into the IAM system and the data extracted thanks to the IAM system, we are limited in terms of this view. Imagine that, and the side effect of that is if you are ingesting wrong data into IAM, if you are ingesting some poor quality data into your IAM system, the side effect is that IAM system is connected to a lot of systems in your organization. So you are propagating those poor quality data in your system and reducing the quality of that. So hopefully, identity and analytics can cover and consider all those data in terms of access. And this is the topic of today, but identity analytics by design is a topic where you can ingest any kind of data. This is more a data warehouse oriented compared to the IAM system. So you can ingest any kind of data, and the strength of those solutions is the correlation of the data, the correlation and the consolidation. It means that you can compare HR information with IT information and compare it over the time. So you can browse back into the past and check what was the situation 2 years ago. And you can answer to your auditors. You can rely on those information to improve your data quality and help the deployment of an IAM system, and then control your IAM system to make sure that the data in an IAM is still consistent.
Yeah, so the purpose of identity analytics then is, of course, analytics. We like to say that identity analytics is the science of user access to help you detect, measure, and mitigate the risks and the data quality issues. So it helps you actually to understand who has access to what and with which level of access. So actually, if it helps you understand the situation, then you are able to make the good decision. So that's why we say that identity analytics is mainly decision oriented. So if we go back to the to this process, actually there is not one step to decide to grant accesses, but there are actually 3 steps. First, you need to understand what's going on. You need to understand the data. You need to understand the situation, the accesses, the identities. Then you are able to make a decision. And when you have decided, then you will be able to act. So it's the operation side. So the decision, the decision step, it's the responsibility of identity analytics, and the action, the operation side, is the role of IAM. So that's why these two components work all together to help you manage your user access the best way. And to finish with this, last statement from Gartner, I know we are quoting them a lot, but I think they had a good vision of the market and the way to deploy these IGA projects. IGA implementation starting with analytics show twice the ROI as those that don't, actually. So mainly because it will help to clean the data before feeding this data to your IAM system. But even during the run phase, you will have a lot of benefits using identity analytics. But I think, Emmanuel, you wanted to show us live use case on how to enrich data quality using an identity analytic tool.
Yes, definitely. So the goal here is to present you a bit Brainwave and how Brainwave can help to enrich the data quality you can collect on the data sources in the goal to prepare the migration of the financial division into an IAM system. And this way I can show you in 10 minutes how we can work on this data quality to be able at the end to export all the access of people belonging to this organization into the IAM system. So let's move on. So here, just to show you, I will log out. But this is the tool. So this is the interface where we can have access to everybody. So let me just log in to show you that this is a cloud service. So as Nicola mentioned, this is the service we are now providing cloud. So there is no technical challenges here. It's just a login and ingesting the data you have from the data source, and everything is consolidating in this web portal. So what we are doing here, again, for our use case, is to be focused on the financial division to retrieve all the, at the end, HR information, but as well all the access information for the migration. So when I'm logging here, I can see the context of myself as an IT security security operational. This is the list of my own access. And you can see that in Brainwave here on the left, we can retrieve a lot of concepts around the access management. So we have the detail of accounts, of the groups you can have on your repositories, the context as well about HR, so identity and organization, everything related to application and permission.
So it's the force actually of this kind of tools is to be able to correlate and consolidate any data from any source to mix it all together and to consolidate everything and get some really very interesting analysis. Emmanuel, you are going to show us.
Yes, actually, Brainwave is designed over a data cube. It means that all the links, all the relationship between the different concepts we have just seen here are already configured. So the matter is not starting from scratch to say, oh, which account belongs to this identity, etc. All the links are already created. And the challenge when you are ingesting data is just fitting the box. So at the end here, you can see that when I filter on the financial division, I have the list of all people belonging to this organization. And you can at least here notice that some of the people doesn't have any HR code. So this is, it can be first here an issue about the data quality. So how can I manage those people into my IAM system without any HR code, unique HR code? So this is something I can work on with the HR division. If we look at one user, one person, one individual working for the financial division here, the tool show all the different metadata we have ingested for this user. So you can retrieve information about employee type, if the user is active or not, the leave date, if there is a scheduled leave date, who is the manager of this user, and his position into the organization as the job. We have some risk level and risk rank on the right side as well, but let's speak about that later. And in terms of the context, everything related to HR and the information we are consolidating, we can check the context of this user. So you have all the colleagues, and if this user is a manager, we can have all the people belonging to the team. And if you see here, we have some KPIs to highlight newcomers into the team. So compared to the previous data ingestion, because those kind of identity analytics tools are working on snapshots of data. So compared to the last ingestion, we can notice that there is two newcomers in the team. And this is a good opportunity to compare the access of those two people. So very easy in one click, and can compare the access between two people doing the same job. And I can notice that one of the user, which is the new one, Jenna Lomber, is new in the team, but she has many more access only assigned to her compared to Heather. So it means that this user maybe have some access related to her previous position. So we need to remove those access if she's not still performing this. And it's a first data cleanup to remove those access before the migration into the IAM system. Just need to export this CSV file, and you can deal with that with your administrators. Coming back into the identity in the context of Samantha Schwartz. Sorry for that.
Actually, the tool is quite fast. We can display analysis quite easily. There is almost no delay apart from the connection issues you may have.
Yes. Here is the details of the different accounts this user have across the organization on the different applications. So here we can notice that even if it's Samantha Schwartz with different kind of logins, sometimes those are numbers, sometimes the typo is not the same, but Brainwave has the strength, the power to match all those accounts with this individual, this identity. And this is really something central in Brainwave to do the mapping between the HR world and the IT world. Because at the end, you can have this kind of graph where you have the identity, and all the keys here are the accounts across the systems. So you can have information about to which application the user has access with which kind of permission, but you can show as well groups. You can show folders, because definitely the identity analytics tools are dealing with any kind of data, so you can ingest shared folders for that. And
so it's definitely something that you have the exhaustivity of the all the accesses this identity has compared to
definitely.
what you could get on the IAM system.
Definitely. So this is really oriented for taking the best decision, because if you want to know exactly on SAP here what's the user have, you have here the list of the permissions. So it's very graphical and very easy to get and to represent the links between all those concepts. Coming back to the organization information now, because at the end what we are interested in is the list of access of all people belonging to this organization. So I'm selecting the financial division, and here what is very interesting here is the risk for this financial division. Working on those risks to reduce the number of risks is also working on improving the data quality. So the identity analytics is providing here a list of controls and the result of those controls on users and highlighting the discrepancies. So for instance, here, this control is looking to active accounts belonging to people who have left the company. So this is very critical. And we can notice here there are 2 users, 2 identities who have left the company, but they have 6 accounts which are still active. So we can work on that and clean up all those accounts, disable all those accounts to improve the data quality of regarding my organization. And there are also SOD controls with some issues, etc. So if I'm working on those to resolve, to fix those controls issues, I can as well improve my data quality. So at the end, when I'm looking to my organization access here, I have a complete view of the full list of access rights of people belonging to this organization. So once I have worked on fixing all those control issues, I can reingest the data into my Brainwave tool and check the last and final controls. And if I'm comfortable with this list of access to migrate, I can export it through Excel or CSV and provide information to the IAM system for the deployment of this financial division. And once it's in the IAM system, we have controls. So those controls are related to the run of the IAM. So as you can notice here, there are 2 tabs. One of the tabs is talking about the access granted to IAM system. So it means that we have ingested here IAM information into Brainwave to check what are the access granted through IAM to a user. So it concerns here SAP. And we can notice here that the scope of the IAM is only focused on SAP here. We don't have the full scope as Brainwave provided around other applications like Cashpooler, Elixo, etc. So the other list of access we have mentioned. But we can notice as well that the information coming from IAM system compared to the reality in the SAP system, we have some discrepancies today. And we can notice that General Number has some over-allocated rights compared to IAM. So we need to deal with those rights. We need to understand why she has those rights in SAP and they are not listed into IAM system. So we need to fix that, and this is the best way to take a decision.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems that anyway, once you connect an application or a system or whatever to an IAM system, there are always some discrepancies like this, the one you just saw, we just saw on SAP. So it's really important to have an application that is able to highlight these discrepancies to be able to sort these issues. So either feed them into the IAM system or revoke them if they're not supposed to be allocated. So
to a data source, yes. Yes, even if we have a complete synchronization between the IAM system and the data source, I mean the systems, there are always some errors, some connections and etc. So some discrepancies are showing up. So we need, and usually IAM system are providing this kind of they are calling like reconciliation module, but Brainwave has the ability to extend this the power of this reconciliation by providing metadata about when the access has been requested, when the access has been granted into the application, because we are consolidating data days after days, week after weeks, etc. in the tool. So definitely identity analytics is more a decision-oriented tool to govern IAM system.
nice. Thank you. And it's time to wrap up. Time is running. So what we just mentioned, standalone IAM is not enough, clearly. The best partner you could find for your IAM system is identity analytics, an identity analytics component to work together with your IAM system. And it's important for the implementation because you will be able to clean up your data, but it's going to be even more important during the run phase because you'll be able to go further and be able to work on compliance, user access review, risk analysis, SOD, and so on and so forth. Many more use cases that you'll be able to sort. And it's going to be the time for questions. Just before that, are you still sure you want to try IAM without identity analytics? Obviously, you may end up in the dark, so but it's a decision. So before mentioning your questions, it's time to write them in the chat box if you have some. Just some teasing about our next events in next week, and actually during May, we are gonna discuss the privileged access governance subject. So with the first webinar next week, same time actually, on the challenges and best practices of privileged access governance initiative. And on May 20th, how to implement true privileged access governance. So you can register if you're interested, either on our website, you have the link displayed below, or you could go to our LinkedIn page. You will find the links to go directly to the registration page. We'll send you the replay of this session in the coming days. So if you want to have a look at it again, you will send it probably at the beginning of next week. So Emmanuel, I have some questions here. Let me find the first one. I already have an IAM tool. If I add an identity analytic component, it's going to cost more. Why would I do that?
So first of all, we have said that this is a cloud service, brand new here. So relying on the 10 years experience we have in Brainwave. So there is no technical point here to use this kind of good features from identity analytics. And the second point about the cost is that you will save money. We have mentioned most of the time in some quotes from Gartner that the ROI is best with identity analytics because, as I mentioned, you have just seen that in 10 minutes, we can highlight the different poor quality aspects of the data and how we can improve it. So instead of that, you should deal with Excel sheets. You should maybe ingest the data into IAM system, but it will be garbage in, garbage out. And if you try to work on the data quality inside the IAM tool, it will be a challenge as well. So definitely with Brainwave or with an identity analytics tool, you can save money and by saving times on when you would like to confirm your milestones, because when you are stressed out because of a deployment, you need to be comfortable with the data you are ingesting into your IAM tool. So this definitely, there is no point of money by using an identity analytics tool here.
Okay, thank you. We have a couple of questions coming. Hopefully we'll be able to answer all of them. What modeling capabilities does Brainwave offer to highlight the impact of adding or changing authoritative sources for specific identity attributes or data elements?
So usually Brainwave ingest the data information as a snapshot, as we mentioned. And based on those data, on all the attributes of an identity, and I'm not talking about only identity, but to which organization, departments it belongs, and etc. Brainwave is comparing the snapshot with the previous snapshots, and it is highlighting the changes. So for instance, when you have someone with, for instance, a departure date, so you know when the user is supposed to leave the company, you can have some highlights in Brainwave to say that be careful because this user is going to leave the company or has left already the company. So you need to be very careful about the access of this user. If a user has changed the organization or has changed position, you can challenge the access of this user, because if he was belonging as an accountant with an access to financial chart folder, and now he has moved to as an HR position, he shouldn't keep this access. So Brainwave highlights all those, I would say, dark corner of the systems. So this is where we are relying on changes by consolidating the data and correlating the information based on when we get what can be provided to this tool.
How is consolidation done between accounts for an identity?
So the consolidation definitely rely on the what we are calling a correlation engine into Brainwave. So we are working on some I would say rules to match attributes from the account to match them with attributes with the identity. So it means, for instance, if you have a logging starting with the first letter of the name and the first and the rest of the family name, you can do a match automatically in Brainwave compared to that with the HR information. If you find multiple identities in this case, then the account remain orphan and we need to find another rule. And the good news with Brainwave is that once the account is reconciled, is correlate with an identity, this is forever. We keep the information over and over the time slots. And it means that, for instance, you have very poor quality on an accounts from, I don't know, Oracle, for instance. An Oracle account doesn't have only some numbers, but hopefully those numbers are matching with AD accounts informations. And you know that these AD accounts belong to an identity already. So you can do a rebound matching because the Oracle accounts have some common attributes with the AD accounts. You know that you can decide that this account belongs to this identity correlated with the AD accounts. So that's very powerful. And at the end, the goal here is to reduce as much as possible the number of orphan accounts, because we don't know those orphan accounts for what they are used for. And definitely this is the risk.
One last one maybe. Is it possible to link a standard account with a privileged account? So the goal is when you remove the standard account, you remove to the privileged account.
Yes. The privilege aspect is definitely a very good use case by Brainwave. This is a first news, but in some weeks you will get this this new release about a new services from Brainwave about privilege access governance. And based on that, Brainwave is very useful to consolidate all those privilege information about accounts, but not only because of attributes of accounts, it's because the accounts can be in a group granting some privilege, or because the account has some access which are granting privilege to this account, or because this is an account on a very privileged applications like CyberArk or Centrify, etc. And the same for Active Directory. So we have a dedicated focus on those accounts in your environment to highlight, and especially the changes about them. Because if the owner of those accounts has changed position as well, you have to maybe disable these accounts or change the access rights.
Okay, and I think we are coming to the end of this session. We don't have any more questions anyway. If you have any question, if you want further information, don't hesitate to contact us. Use the email address. You can reply to the email address that will be used when you will receive the replay, or you could contact us on our website. And we were really happy to have you with us today, and hope you enjoyed the session. And we hope to see you next week on the privileged access governance subject. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Emmanuel.
Bye, Nicolas.